I've been meaning to reach out to you for some time now. My name is Dylan. I have a very in-depth background in cryptozoology. I'm currently 38, work from home, and I spend a lot of my free time researching and understanding cryptids. But I also spend a lot of my time hiking in the woods, exploring, and doing my own solo trips out in the wilderness of the United States. Anyway, I listen to your content already, so you're speaking my language since you know so much about cryptids just like I do. And I want you to know, before I go any further, in case you decide to read this, that I want you and everybody else to know this is not a case of mistaken identity. I have done enough research on Bigfoot, Dogman, and most other cryptids people don't even know about to know that what I saw, there's just no mistaking. I don't know if this thing has a name per se, but it was very defined, and that I've never seen anything else that looks like this. This sighting also took place in broad daylight, where there was no shadow, nothing obstructing it from view, and I only saw it from about 30 feet away, so I got a good look at it for more than just a few seconds. And being a cryptozoology enthusiast, it doesn't take long to start getting involved in the community, getting stories, sightings, and encounters from fellow friends. Basically, I've heard through the grapevine that there is a large population of not only Bigfoot, but buffalo wolves living out in these areas. Now, when I set out to hike and do my solo adventures, my intent is to never encounter or run into a cryptid. In fact, even though I'm really enthusiastic about the whole thing, that's the last thing I want to see, because I have that innate human primal fear in me that seeing something that I was told isn't supposed to exist just terrifies me. Let me go ahead and get to that. So, as you know from what I told you, I definitely frequent the woods of the United States, doing my own solo camping trips, exploring and whatnot. I'm a bit of an outdoors junkie as it is, which is why my love of cryptozoology matches up so well with my lifestyle. I do lots of frequent camping, and prefer to be in the outdoors more than I do inside. Anyway, this June, I was spending a couple weeks at the time exploring the outback areas of Montana, hiking around and sightseeing as much as I could. But this is the area where I had a sighting that I can only chalk up to what I thought was never possible. Now, I don't like using this term, because it really sounds like something you'd pull from a Dungeons & Dragons game. But, unfortunately, it does and is the only thing that accurately describes the physique in what I saw. A werebear. Now, before I go any further, let me stress that I do not believe this was a person that is transformed into a bear. I think that's very silly and nonsensical. I do believe that this was another cryptid among the many that I was lucky enough to witness. Although terrifying, I believe that this creature or cryptid shared the same physical attributes that you would see in the fantasy setting that a werebear has. As far as the setting goes, I had come across a river. I couldn't tell you exactly what river it was, but if I looked on a map and spent time, I could probably write you back and tell you exactly what river I was at. Anyway, I was walking up against the riverbank on the west side when I heard a loud shuffling on the opposite bank. Out from behind some rocks stood up this massive bear. At least at first I thought it was a bear, and I realized this thing was standing on two legs like a bear, but the body looked entirely wrong. This thing was towering in height, and I know exactly what a bear looks like. I've seen them in the wild on numerous occasions, and again, this had a completely wrong body. I know bear do stand up on their hind legs. I'm well aware of that. But like I just said, and I cannot stress this enough, the body looked entirely differently than just a brown bear. Although what confused my mind, because it's only used to this realm of reality, was that the head was that of a brown bear. Kind of grizzly bear, I guess you'd call it. But the body was frightening, because it resembled that of a human being. And even the fur and hair on its body was very short compared to that of a brown bear. You can simply Google any bear, and you can see that the hair on their body is rather long and thick. But this, it was short and shaved down almost. Like it looked wrong. Even the hair and fur on its body was just not normal. When it stood up on two legs, it watched me, and it had an expression on its face that looked far more intense than any normal animal I've ever looked at. It's almost like I can see intelligence in its face, like it was studying me, observing me. This thing had a chest, torso, arms, and legs just like a man did, to a T. And also, the physique on this thing, it was ripped. Absolutely ripped. I'm talking rippling muscles underneath its short fur. And this thing looked like it had been lifting weights, day in and day out. It was also easily 9 feet tall, if not taller. I had to look up at it, into its eyes, to see it. That's why when I say this thing was towering above, I wasn't lying. Its face just read one simple expression: turn back. That's the best way I could sum up the look on its face. I was completely horrified at the moment, and also stunned at what I was seeing. However, because I had experience in survival classes and being out in the wilderness, I knew that you should never run from any sort of predator. So, I was able to maintain my composure and locked eyes with this creature and backed away very slowly until I was able to safely get out of the area. I've spent ample time all over the internet, Reddit for one, and other various sites, even going as far as contacting various people in the cryptozoology realm, and nothing. I have not talked to anybody who has seen or talked to any eyewitnesses that have seen a creature like this before. I don't know if you have, or if anyone else has listening to this, if you are reading this, but please, I would love for somebody to reach out to me. I want to know that I'm not the only one who has seen this. Even though I do have a love for cryptozoology, and it's not that I'm not having a hard time believing what I saw, I just can't be the only one to see this cryptid. Little did I know, that day, upon that river, I was going to encounter whatever this creature was. I mean, looking back, it really was a perfect area to seclude and never be hidden. Montana is pretty much a dead zone anyway. There's a whole lot of state and not a whole lot of people. If I was some sort of cryptid and I wanted to remain hidden, that's a good place to go. I feel like it's also important for me to state that even though I do have a love and obsession with cryptozoology and creatures in general, I have never once had a personal encounter with anything, even through all the backwoods hiking and exploring I've done. Not Bigfoot, not Dogman, nothing. So this is kind of a first for me, especially when I saw what I did, and I realized in that moment that this was neither a Bigfoot nor a Dogman, but something else entirely. Some sort of monster from the woods. And is it possible that had I stuck around, this thing would have taken me and ended my life? Well, I think it's possible, but that's why I wasn't wanting to stick around to find out. That's why I got out of there ASAP. As I mentioned to you earlier, I got a chance to get involved in the community, and even though at the time I didn't have any stories to share or swap, I got shared a bunch of encounters and sightings of not only Dogman, but Bigfoot. And these are the same individuals that once I had my sighting, I got to share my experiences with them. But to no avail. They had never heard of such a creature before, and once again, I'm left wondering with no answers and no conclusions or resolutions. Truly, part of me firmly believes that I was the first person to see such a creature, but maybe not. I just have yet to find the right person to share their encounter with me. Hopefully, if your audience hears this, one of them will have had an encounter with the same creature. And again, I don't know if these creatures are exclusive to the Montana area. I just know that's where I had my sighting. For all I know, they could be all throughout Canada, and all of those thousands of acres of wilderness, uncharted and untouched by mankind. In conclusion of this email, I guess it should be no surprise to us that there are creatures out there that we have yet to see, the same as anyone discovering a cryptid for the first time. Have a wonderful day.